The sun had barely risen over the city when the heavy glass doors of the Silverstone corporate tower opened, and employees poured in with files, coffee cups, and determined faces, all knowing that today was no ordinary day. Today, the elusive CEO, Richard Silverstone, was expected to make a rare public appearance downstairs at the company's cafe, not for a business meeting but for something far more personal, his daughter. Amelia Silverstone, only 7 years old, had been in a tragic car accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. Once a cheerful child who danced through hallways and filled rooms with her laughter, Amelia now spent most of her days in a wheelchair, watching the world move around her with quiet, heartbreaking stillness. Her father, though a titan of industry, often found himself helpless when it came to fixing what mattered most, her broken spirit. This morning, Amelia sat quietly outside the cafe in her white dress, her blonde braid draped neatly over her shoulder, her delicate hands folded on her lap. Her wheelchair gleamed under the warm light, but she looked anything but bright. Around her, the clinking of cups and low hum of chatter carried on, but no one dared approach the lonely little girl who carried the weight of a silent battle. Her eyes flicked toward the tables, where groups of children laughed with their parents. She longed to be part of that laughter but convinced herself she never could. Her father had tried everything, therapy sessions, art lessons, special schools, but nothing seemed to pierce the invisible wall of isolation Amelia had built around herself. She had grown to believe she would always sit on the sidelines, watching life pass by while others danced and ran and played. It was at this moment that fate intervened, in the form of a man walking down the street holding his daughter's hand. Daniel Miller was not rich, not powerful, not someone who made the world stop in awe like Richard Silverstone did. He was a simple man, a single dad who worked long hours at a small repair shop to keep food on the table for his little girl, Lily. Life had been unkind to Daniel. His wife had passed away when Lily was only 2, leaving him to juggle fatherhood and survival. Yet, despite the hardships, Daniel had never let his daughter feel unloved or unwanted. Lily was his entire world, and he poured into her every ounce of love he had. That morning, Lily wore her favorite yellow dress dotted with tiny stars, pink leggings, and little pink shoes. In her hand, she clutched her worn-out teddy bear, her inseparable companion since infancy. She skipped lightly beside her father, her laughter ringing out like bells in the crisp air. Daniel's heart softened every time he heard that laugh. It was the sound that reminded him why he fought through every struggle. As they approached the cafe, Lily's gaze caught Amelia sitting alone in her wheelchair, her hands folded, her eyes distant, her dress gleaming like snow under the sunlight. For a moment, Lily stopped in her tracks, tugging at her father's hand. "Daddy," she whispered, "why is she all alone? She looks so sad." Daniel followed his daughter's gaze and felt a pang in his chest. He recognized loneliness when he saw it. He'd battled it himself in the silent nights after his wife's passing. The sight of that fragile little girl sitting in a wheelchair, cut off from the laughter of the world, stirred something deep inside him. He crouched down to Lily's level. "Do you want to go say hi?" he asked gently. Lily nodded eagerly, her teddy bear pressed tightly against her chest. Daniel smiled, though a flicker of hesitation crossed his mind. He didn't know who this girl was or why she sat alone, but he could not let his daughter ignore someone who clearly needed a friend. Rising to his full height, Daniel squeezed Lily's hand and led her closer. Amelia's gaze lifted when she noticed the approaching pair. She straightened slightly, unsure of what to expect. Most children avoided her, not out of cruelty but from discomfort. They didn't know what to say to a girl who couldn't run or play like them. Adults often looked at her with pity, which she hated even more. But this time, instead of averted eyes or forced smiles, Amelia saw something different. A little girl, perhaps her age, smiling openly with pure, innocent warmth, and a tall man whose eyes carried both strength and kindness. Lily walked up to Amelia, holding her teddy bear out with small hands. "Hi," she said brightly, "I'm Lily. This is Mr. Bear. He's really good at making sad people smile." For a moment, Amelia blinked, unsure of how to respond. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She looked down at the teddy bear, its fur faded from years of love, and then at Lily's hopeful eyes. Something inside her chest stirred, something she hadn't felt in a long time, a tiny spark of connection. Slowly, Amelia reached out and touched the bear's paw. "He's cute," she whispered. Lily's face lit up with joy, as if she had won a treasure. "See, Daddy," she turned back to Daniel, I told you she needed Mr. Bear." Daniel chuckled softly, then looked at Amelia. "My daughter would love to play with you," he said gently, his voice filled with warmth that carried no trace of pity, only sincerity. The words struck Amelia like a wave. She stared at him, then at Lily, her throat tightening with an emotion she couldn't quite name. She had been invisible for so long, but in that moment, she felt seen. Not as the girl in the wheelchair, not as the CEO's daughter, but as a child who deserved to play, to laugh, to belong. Unbeknownst to them, Richard Silverstone had stepped out of the cafe, pausing just behind the glass doors. He had come to fetch his daughter for a doctor's appointment, but instead, he froze at the sight unfolding before him. His little Amelia, who had sat alone for months with walls around her heart, was smiling. A faint, fragile smile, but a smile nonetheless. Richard's throat tightened as he watched the little girl in yellow chatter away, and the stranger who stood by her side, offering nothing but kindness. He realized, in that moment, that all his wealth, power, and influence could never give his daughter what she truly needed, human connection. And so began a story that would change all their lives forever. But dear viewer, before we continue deeper into this emotional journey, let me gently remind you, if stories of love, healing, and unexpected bonds touch your heart, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you won't miss the next chapter of Amelia's journey, where lives intertwine in ways that will leave you stunned and deeply moved. Stay with us, because what happens next will warm your soul.